Hello everyone and welcome back to Star Wars. My name is Chris Higgins, joined by my illustrious co-host, Nick Oswald.
Hey, that's me.
And our guest, Zack Wildman, a friend of mine since high school. Zack, how you doing, man?
Glad to be back.
Yeah, we did a lot of podcasts in the past. I remember we did the Armies of Star Wars series together. That was a really fun time. Today's going to be a little bit different. We're going to talk about Andor, but first, there's been something on Nick's mind. You've got something you got to get off your chest, Nick. That's what I've heard.
We gotta get buttons back. We gotta get buttons back. Let me tell you, the touchscreens, the software ways to turn things on and off or up or down. We gotta go. We gotta return. And I'm saying return with the V instead of the U. You know what I'm saying? Like return. We gotta return, and we have to reject modernity. Because like I just walked into a room and there was a fan on, and I just hit a switch and the fan turned off, and it was amazing. It felt good. I don't know if you guys have done that in a while, where you've like really paid attention to walking into like you walked into the room with one purpose, and it was to turn a thing off, and then you can do it with one swipe, and it's instantaneous. And how good that feels compared to an app. Like you boot up an app, it's got to authenticate. First it has to connect to the internet and make sure you have internet. And then it's got to authenticate. And then it's got to show you whatever the promo is. And then it's got to tell you that you're out of date. And then it's got to connect to your actual device. And then you have to like use a slider. And then there's not instant feedback on it. We got to be done. We're done with this. Back to, I guess brick and mortar is not the right word, but we need brick and mortar devices in our homes. And because I walked in my bathroom, turned my fan off, and it turned off. It was amazing. Felt great.
To hard plastic and clicky clicks.
Yep. And like displays are really cheap, so car manufacturers are going that way. So everything is a touchscreen. It's cheap, and the touchscreen is not good, and it uses software to turn your HVAC on and off. And everybody wants to be a Tesla now, so like we got to get back to buttons. I need to reach up and I need to twist a knob. Now the knob can be physical and it could be connected to software. That's okay. Actually, I'll allow that. Like when a volume knob just turns infinitely and it's not actually analog, but there's the action of turning the volume. I'm okay with that. We've been doing this for a while now. It doesn't have to be like where there's 100% and it stops. But anyway.
But also, when we were learning to drive, didn't you get immediately really good at being able to change songs and do whatever you wanted to do without taking your eyes off the road?
100%.
Because, like, by feel, you could just do it without having to, like, look at the screen. Like, that's why we're the safe driving generation.
You just brought up a great point. So even more. So like we got these things there. We have Android Auto and CarPlay. And I had CarPlay on yesterday and I got a text message and I wanted to just swipe away and go back to what I was listening to. So I was hovering my phone, like my fat finger. I was about to hit the screen and then it changed from done to call. And so I ended up calling my wife on accident. I was just like, I just wanted to go back to listening to what I was doing. Now I have to talk to my wife.
Dude, I'm so sorry. That sounds awful.
No one wants that.
I wish I had a wife.
No one wants to. Well, I really wish that for you, so you could just not want to talk to her anymore.
Can't
wait. Do you guys know like what vehicles use knobs for their infotainment navigation?
Toyotas are big on knobs.
They use knobs. Do you support? So I know you brought up the knob. Do you support the knob? You're a knob.
This would sound really weird to a British listener.
Yeah, I have a big knob head. Give me all the knobs. I want to touch them. I want to feel them. I want to squeeze them. Gimme. Yeah, and I was thinking of it in the context of, so on Threads, I like to tweet really, well, what do you tweet on Threads? Do you thread? You spool? Do you spool on Threads?
You unravel?
You unravel? I unraveled the other day, like, and I like to do dumb guy things where it's just like, isn't it kind of dope that you can like get bananas? Like 200 years ago, nobody could get bananas. But now, like, they're in everyone's house by default. You just walk into a house and there's going to be a banana in there. And like, just like, dude, how cool is it? You can control stuff with your wall. Like, you can just walk up to your wall and do a thing, and then it like controls something else in your room. That's really cool.
But I also agree. I
go
also
ahead,
agree that I don't want an app for everything because, like, I turn on my air conditioner with a phone, but then, like, involuntarily, I've, like, moved to Twitter or, like, something, and I don't even remember how I got there. Like, I got on the phone. I got on the phone just to do the utility thing, and then 10 minutes later, I'm scrolling garbage. Yeah.
And you're getting the dopamine hit thing. Yeah. And like I think we all as kids we wanted the piece of glass in your hand that controls everything in your house. Like that sounded good in theory, but now it's just so full of bloat. And like we could have apps that worked instantaneously, right? Like that you just literally like, oh, I'm going to hit this thing and boop, it's going to go. But like they're so chock full of advertisements and like authentications, and you have to have an account for this. Like, man, brother, I don't need an account to order a donut. Come on now.
And are you thinking of this in the context of the old school Andor design, where?
Well, look at this. He doesn't even work for the show, and he's got a good like.
No, this is what reminded me because like nothing excites me more than like the analog designs in old school Star Wars. It drives it,
and they
like,
still had data pads, right? They still had the iPads.
Yeah, there were the Andor iPads, which I thought was like a new thing. Maybe I didn't remember that from season 1.
Yeah, because they had data pads, I think, in like the original Star Wars, where it's just like a brick that they were holding around. And you know, sure enough, there's so many things analog that those were probably very easy to use. Like, did you think you were authenticating and logging into an account to turn on the Death Star? You certainly not. Like that.
I don't think Star Wars has the concept of logging into your account.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Like,
that'd be a very foreign idea.
Well, credentials are always thrown around.
Well, you get the cylinders, like the data cylinder. Remember, there's a whole subplot in season 2 about what's his face, the ginger guy stole the cylinder from Dedra. So there's that, but it's a physical key. It's like a crypto wallet where you have to have this physical thing to actually get to something. That's kind of cool. That's the Star Wars equivalent to logging in. So great segue. Now we're here. We went back to Star Wars. You don't even work for the show, and you need to do that.
He doesn't even work here, and he did that.
Work here. I wasn't even supposed to be here today.
So we have all seen, and I'm guessing you, the listener, have probably seen this wonderful show called Andor Season 2.
Some are calling it the best television ever made.
Mm-hmm.
Some are calling it the best television ever made. Yeah. And so I guess let's start off right there. I mean, on a scale of best show ever, I mean, how good is this show? Zach, since you are our guest, I will let you go first.
Not to make this into an overly complicated answer, but we went and saw a movie. We saw Friendship on Sunday, and we started talking about TV, but like, I love TV, but I also love trashy stuff. So it's worth it's worth, you used to do a podcast about pizza. So do you talk when you're ranking pizza, there's good fast food pizza, there's good like authentic pizza, there's different styles. I think Andor is like shocking because I put it in that like old school water cooler television, like premiere television level of quality.
It's in the Game of Thrones conversation.
Right. I mean, like, so I know this is a gap of mine, but I haven't seen Succession. And it's not because I don't love all the actors. I just like, most of my life is made worse by billionaires, so I just don't want to watch them arguing for entertainment. But like,
dialogue to have to pay close attention to, too.
Board meetings are
like
really
at
fun.
At 10 p.m., I'm not into that. I'm like, I need something to I need a show, not tell.
Right. Yeah. No, but I would say in terms of quality, like this should be the type of television that people are like discussing the morning after, like at work or texting each other about. Like, this is so well done. And talking about a meme on a podcast is always like a great thing to do because it's not visual. But there was a meme that showed a clip of a lightsaber fight from the Acolyte, which like, I don't know I think you guys discussed Acolyte, I might listen to it, but some of that fight choreography was truly, in my opinion, awesome. But it was like,
that's part of the show. Yeah,
and like I won't say anything else about the quality of the show, but the meme was a picture of the lightsaber duel, and it was a bunch of dudes like rolling their eyes, and then it was a picture of like an ISB meeting, and all the dudes are like losing their mind, like just like watching like the tensions between these things, and the dialogue made the show incredible. So I give it like an 8 out of 10 at least. I truly just loved it.
Speaking of losing your mind, something that makes me lose my mind is when I don't have enough energy for the day. And what I use to help keep me energized and thoughtful, buzzing with productivity is Magic Mind. And Magic Mind is a mental performance shot. It's a productivity hack for me that I take once a day. It is in the form of this green colored shot, and it's packed with vitamins and nutrients that are, for me, a great daily complement to my coffee regimen, which, yeah, I really love coffee, but I can't just keep drinking coffee all day long, or else I will start to go nuts. I might lose my mind. So Magic Mind helps because there are more natural, less stimulant driven ways to get energy and keep your sharpness, especially for someone like me, who I have my day job and I also run a podcast. So when I see that Magic Mind has ingredients like lion's mane mushroom, chlorophyll, matcha, B vitamins, L-theanine, turmeric, I'm just ecstatic because these all help with cognition, energy, and with less stress. So I recommend that you try it. It's good for anyone that wants to be productive with creativity or with productivity, or if you are an athlete and you want to be sharp, as I am. So what you can do is go to magicmind.com/SWLC, and you can get a 45% off discount on your first subscription or a 20% discount on a one-time purchase by going to magicmind.com/SWLC with the discount code SWLC20. I think you guys will really like it, but without further ado, let's get back onto the show.
Can I go now?
Please.
You sir, you in the back.
Okay. And I agree with Zach here. I think you probably have to couch this because I think a lot of people are putting this into some hyperbole, right? I think people are saying this is like some of the best dramatic television you've ever seen. And it's true. The acting is really good. I'd say just like the situational elements of it is really good. It's not a predictable show. It's not like this all culminates in a big fight and this like even some of the things that are in universe that were predictable, like, hey, these people don't show up in Rogue One, so we have to figure out how they all die. Even that was surprising because they don't all die. Some of them are creatively just left out because, we'll get to that. Like some people leave, some people are injured, some people do die. And then other people are just like, well, they had no reason to be with Andor, so that's why they're not in Rogue One, which is just so like, it's like subverting. It's such a simple way to subvert. Like, we're looking at a snapshot of a couple days. Like, not everybody needs to be involved. So, like, why? And that just even that was made it kind of exciting. Like, how's this going to work? Which ISB agents are going to die? Which ones are going to get fired? Like, all this stuff is really good. However, like, just because it is a Star Wars property, I think. Like I don't think we're in Emmy contention here, right? It's not going to win, best dramatic television show. It's probably going to win some special effects, I would imagine. It would probably win some costume and some set design, cause oh my God, like there's some crazy ass sets in that. So they built that Gorman Square, by the way. That's a real thing that they built. So that
the hangar too was mostly like functional stuff.
Which hangar?
Like the hangar on
Yavin.
On Yavin, yeah, where all the ships are, where they're especially
Rebel
where you
base.
see the KX unit and everything. They were showing like
call that Sparks Factory.
Yeah, well, like when the sparks are flying, they did show like it's like dudes with welding materials, like none of that's like post effects, basically.
Yeah. And that who knows if that was a holdover from Rogue One. I'm guessing they took that apart and put it back together. Yeah, but the Gorman Square is a fully functional square. Like that ISB building existed, and it was backed by the hotel, by the cafe, so that those actors could walk around in it and like interact with it, which is just so. And it looked really nice. It was Space France, you know. There's just all these little things that were so well done, but like obviously if I'm going to compare it to my actual favorite television shows, which are Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, The Sopranos, like that kind of stuff, like
Big Bang Theory,
you know, Big Bang Theory. I'm not going to put it in that conversation, but I will say in terms of nerd IP, you know, Game of Thrones, Marvel, Star Wars. You know, if you're a Doctor Who person, like this is the best nerd IP television ever made.
I'll totally vouch for that. Yeah.
And that's a new thing, right? The television, like Marvel making TV shows is kind of new. Star Wars making television shows is of course very new. So like, I think this sets probably the highest bar possible because there was some times where I just forgot it was Star Wars.
Yeah. I also, one thing I left out was that like I love a miniseries more and more, and I just love that this was a self-contained kind of story. But like you said, we can fill in some of the fates of some of the characters ourselves, but it didn't feel like they were making it up as they went along. It felt like there was a grand plan to start with. So that was my other thing.
Yeah. Did you like, and then Chris, it's time for you to weigh in, but before we do that, did you like the 3 episodes per week format?
I loved it so much. It was good for bingers like me, but also like the way it did the time jumps.
Water cooler. Like you could still like, let's talk about these 3 episodes this week, and then we're waiting for the next one. Like it was like you could binge, but also talk about it in chunks.
But had it not been done in 4 weeks, they could have stretched it to 12 weeks, and then I feel like the effects of the early episodes probably would have waned, and I would have been like, I got to start rewatching in the middle of the season because I forgot already.
Yeah, and they're all in 3 episode arcs, so they all kind of work together in that way, and then they're 1 year apart, like, and they show you like the most important 3 days of that year. Like I no, it's so cool.
I liked the 3 episode drops. I think that's something that modern TV is really benefiting from because maybe we've learned that we don't like to split up episodes week by week. Like I hate having to wait a week for the next The Last of Us episode.
And I really hate it. I hate like when Stranger Things season 5 comes out, I hate like when I'm talking to another nerd, I'm like, hey, have you watched all of it? It's like, no, I'm only halfway through. Don't tell me. It's just like this. It's more feasible that on Tuesdays, granted, I'm a dad and I'm also very tired at night and my wife doesn't watch this. So I watch it when she falls asleep. It was hard for me to get 3 episodes in a week, but also like if I wasn't in that case, that's very unique to me. If I wasn't in that case, it would be dope because on Wednesday, I know I could talk to people about it.
It's great for tired dads. It's great for people. It's great for the water cooler effect.
No, it's not great for tired dads. It's not great because there are so many times where I still.
Well, the three episode drops are good for tired dads.
No, it's not.
No.
It was really hard for me to keep up with it because there's a lot of times where I was like, Chris, you'd be like, "Are you ready? Are you ready to watch?" I'm like, "No, I'm still like an episode and a half behind." But
well, a lot of time I'd be sending those texts at like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
You know,
when I finished it, I was like super emotional, texting like, "Good God!"
My debaucherous lifestyle doesn't even kick in until around 2. So for me, I'm just digging in for the night, for the morning. But
I have 4 days in one of your days, so like when you're waking up, I'm starting my second day.
When you're waking up, I've already been on gambling websites for over an hour. It's just we're not the same person.
Yeah,
we're not the same. I am built different. But
I've already slotted like 3 anime fans. But
that is productivity. The 3 episode thing, I liked that because I feel like the water cooler effect is there. Because when you're sitting with your colleague back in the day when I sat next to colleagues, they would talk to you about Game of Thrones, and then you'd ask them about this, and they'd be like, "Oh, I can't really say, like I can't really tell you," but there's a lot better chance that you could be on the same plane as other people. So I do like the 3-episode drops. What I didn't like was the 1-year gap. I felt like that was forced to me because I felt like story threads ended prematurely when that happened. My biggest example was with Cyril. Now, it could just be that I just didn't like that one of my favorite characters was killed, but I really felt like he was the strongest, well-written character of the show. I really liked his character development.
With a Cyril, huh?
I identify very well with Cyril.
Mid-level bureaucrat in a fascistic regime that you just...
Yeah, like he's rising to the heights of
tall,
like,
lanky, athletic, can throw down.
Yeah. Like him and I have a very similar trajectory. I could probably get to the highest heights of individual contributor, but that's it. Like
fueled by mommy issues.
Wow, that is such a good way to describe Cyril. Just like the highest heights of individual contributor.
Not managing a single person, maybe a project.
Well, no, he does on Gorman. He's a manager on Gorman.
That's true. He did become a big time.
But he's middle management.
Yeah, maybe we should talk about that. But yeah, I think he was to me like my center for the show because I felt like it brought in a lot of different elements. First of all, he had a really good, cool character arc of like going to like his bottom in the first season. Like he failed spectacularly. He had to move in with his parents. This is like a lot of stuff that's very relatable, especially for Star Wars. And then he really just like wants meaning. Like that's what he's searching for. He really wants a meaningful life. He wants to be just. He wants to be a good person. And he really I feel like he's a person that wants to do the right thing. And he got brought into this Imperial thing, thought that he was really fighting on the good side, found out he wasn't, spoilers here, but then he gets killed by our main character. And I felt like I was robbed of some closure.
Let's say he put up a shockingly good fight too. And actually he got gacked by not Cassian.
They fought though, but yeah, he didn't kill him, but they fought.
I think he got whacked by the hotel manager guy, didn't he? Isn't that who fatally shot him?
No, he's the quote unquote resistance.
You're right.
leader.
Cassian did not kill him.
He was one of the I'm going to call it Silk. I don't know what
that. Okay, yeah.
He was a Silk magnate.
Yeah.
But also he was like the resistance leader / reluctant resistance.
Yes.
I was getting it confused if it was the hotel clerk that like knew what Cassian's game was. That was like, hey, I've seen you 5 different times with 5 different identities. Don't worry, I'm not going to tell anyone.
I gave you a plaza facing view so you could shoot somebody.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so he interacted with Cassian on that stuff. So yeah, Nick, you're right. It was the guy with the gray hair who was an older gentleman, but he was the leader of the Gorman Front.
In this show are tough. I will say that.
But yeah, he was he was the leader of the Gorman Front.
Geek McSchmirk, like.
But wait, Chris, before we go too much down the rabbit hole on Cyril, yeah, I think that's good to discuss. Like, I liked the 1-year gaps because we got to fit a lot of story in. But there were definite flaws with it where, like, interpersonal relationships were kind of tossed to the side because of it, in my opinion. Because, like, Cyril and Dedra, at certain points, seemed like they were just figuring each other out and how to communicate. And then it's, like, a year later, and I'm like, did it get better? Did it get worse? Like, what happened in that year? And same thing with Bix and Cassian, where I'm like, they seem like they're at a crossroads of breaking up or like not doing well, and then it's like 1 year later and I'm like, how's this last year been for them? Like, I don't know.
They're like, audience, you piece that together. Like, we're just gonna let that kind of hang, and audience, it's up for you to figure out what the effect of that was. But Nick, did you feel like there was any kind of lingering threads? I do agree with the relationship stuff though. No,
I like the year jumps. I think it forced them to show, not tell, because they could just have, like, at the beginning of every 3-episode arc, they have somebody explains, like, well, for the last year, we've been living in this safe house. Or for the last year, I've been working in middle management on Gorman. Like, they did really cool things to get you caught up. Like, for instance, instead of just saying, I'm middle management on Gorman, the first episode of that arc, it's Cyril talking to his mom about how much of a disappointment he is because he broke up with Eva. And then he had a burgeoning career in the Empire on Coruscant, and then moved to some backwater silk farm. Like that was a really well done way to do it. It's just like, hey, lots of stuff is going on, and he's just having a conversation with his mom, who's browbeating him about that. Really cool way. And then you're like, oh, did they actually break up? Like, did they have a? And then it turns out it's like, well, no, we just made it look like it, so he could be my puppet here. Like I didn't have any problem with the year jumps.
I didn't have a problem with that aspect, but yeah, go on.
However, there is one thing is like, I feel like the last arc is 1 BBY. Can someone explain this to me? Like, if the Battle of Yavin is 0, then why could those 3 days? Because those are basically 3 days that lead up to like 3 days that lead up to A New Hope. So wouldn't that be 0?
Well,
you're a resident dates guy, Nick. Like, you have to remember, I don't work within time, so I don't know if Zach, if you understand.
It's a construct.
You know how people say like, well, 0 BC is not like the birth of Christ. Like, Jesus was actually born in like 37 BC AD or something like that. Like they screwed up Jesus' birth. So like, and maybe it's that one of the things, those things like 0 BBY isn't just actually when the Death Star blew up. It's like 1 year before. I don't know. Maybe that's the case.
Well, I binged these episodes like crazy. So I was done with the final 3 at like Wednesday morning, but like after it came out. So maybe I'm a little rusty, but I feel like they stretched out those 3 episodes more than they did in the previous 3 groupings. Maybe I'm making this up, but maybe that explains it, because some of the previous 3 groupings, some of the previous 3 groupings were like over the course of a few days. I feel like there was like months in between in the last 3 episodes.
I don't think there's months in between, but I think they cheat. The conceit is that it's all a 3-day period each year.
Okay.
But I think it's kind of like more of 3.5 to a week, I think, is the last one. And it is the days leading up, because the whole end, spoilers, is him marching to the ship to go to the Ring of Kafrene and kill that guy that we see him kill at the beginning.
Was it Tevik? Something like that?
Tevik, yep.
Yeah.
Which it really flavors that Tevik killing a lot better.
It does. Yeah.
So, speaking of characters that are like carried from Rogue One, there were a couple that I was very happy and like pleasantly surprised that they had the same actors. Like they had a lot of screen time. Like one of them was Saw Gerrera. And
Andor saved Saw Gerrera from the depths of one of the worst characters ever in a Star Wars. I think you're going to get there, but
well, that was you just let me finish. But basically, all I was going to say is that I think both of you had made fun of Saw Gerrera. Like whenever I think, Zach, Zach, how do you feel about Saw Gerrera? Did you like him in Rogue One? Did he annoy you?
I hated him. But it's also, so live action Star Wars, I'm a total nerd, but like compared to a layman, I'm a Star Wars nerd. When it comes to the full canon, I've seen like barely anything animated. So I have to like check myself of not knowing all of the backgrounds. But it wasn't really Saw Gerrera, it was Forrest Whitaker. And like Forrest Whitaker, I mean, I like to think of myself as an amateur cinephile, but this dude has Academy Awards. But his whole career, he's done in a scope of a year, like Academy Award nominated movie, and then like Razzie nominated movie. Like this dude is like all over the map. And I think he's just overacting on everything. Sometimes it lands and sometimes it doesn't. And one of our greatest sci-fi epics, the John Travolta Scientology movie, Battlefield Earth, Forrest Whitaker, it has one of the worst performances I've ever seen put to camera. And so it was more the Forrest Whitaker like overselling every line that I didn't like. Yeah, it wasn't the character I hated, but it just didn't work for me in Rogue One. I think it did work better for me in Andor, but
yeah, He is incredible in Andor for many, many reasons. I too, like you, Zach, didn't really get a hold of him in the animated series, so I don't know much about him. But like that whole sequence of him describing what slavery was like, where he was like, we were naked in the field because the chemicals melted our clothes off. And then we just got high by gunpoint and got addicted to this stuff. And now we're just insane people. And now you're one of us. Like, it's like, just like, breathe it in, boy. I wish I could quote it word for word because it's so good. It's like, we are the gas. He's basically saying we are the gasoline. Like, we're insane. You have to be crazy to be in the rebellion. And just because the partisans never made any sense to me, and now they do. They just huff gasoline. The partisans huff gasoline, and that's why they're batshit crazy. And that whole and I texted Chris right away when I watched that series. I'm like, this is so good. They are showing weird drug addicts in a Disney Star Wars TV show, and I can't believe they're doing it. And then him taking Will taking the mask off and like basically like having a bad time and then having a good time. I can't believe we saw that in a Disney show.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's awesome to see the like far left extremist anarchists in a Star Wars world.
Because in real life they're all drug addicts too. Like you have to be insane to do that stuff, and maybe what's the quickest way to get insane? You get hooked on drugs.
Yeah, I just like that Andor is so messy in the gray area of classic Star Wars is good and evil, and it's so starkly contrasted. We're all good, we're all evil. Saw Gerrera is way in the gray.
Whoa, there's 2 Chris's now. How did that work?
Sorry about that, guys. I had a technical difficulty. Now are there 2 of me now? Or is there...
Yeah, there's 2 of you. There are 2 of them. This is getting out of hand. That was a quote from...
Well, there was... I had a weird thing happen, but I am back. So it's a little bit of the not so much Saw Gerrera being like this terrible character, but the acting of Forrest Whitaker. And for Nick, I feel like being like the revelation of why he is this way kind of helped you along with this new understanding of Saw Gerrera, like kind of helped you. But did you also, I feel like the performances were also pretty good for the show, for him.
You have no idea where I am.
That's a meme now. They're turning that into a meme, and it's great. I love that.
And I don't know if this, like, I'm sure budget was a thing, but like the fact that they were able to get, by my count, every veteran actor that had been in the series to return, with the exception of Bail Organa. That was the only scheduling conflict that they had to recast in the show. And
what was he filming that was more important than Star Wars?
I don't know.
It wasn't like Mayan season 6 or something.
I feel like his credits are like Star Wars and then like Blue Bloods or like CSI Idaho or something. But yeah, and Benjamin Bratt was his replacement, who I love as an actor, and I felt like if
you just fine.
Yeah, it wasn't a noticeable change for me, but the way they were able to get the cast back was incredible.
And I also thought that Mon Mothma was pretty good. I don't remember the name of the actress. I might
Genevieve O'Reilly.
Okay, yeah, Zach, we were talking. We had some guys just getting together at the bar, having a few drinks. Started talking about
Mon Mothma.
As one does.
At the bottom of bottle number 2, I find Mon Mothma.
Yeah, I liked her. I think I can only really recall her having like 2 modes. Like one of them is pretending to be everything's fine, I'm pretending to be happy, and then the other second, oh my god, what's about to happen to me. Like those are the two modes of Mon Mothma.
You mean in Rogue One or also in this season?
And really in just this season, like one second she's like, oh, it's so good to see you. Yeah, we're having a great time at this party. And then she'll turn around and be like, oh my God, everything's falling apart. My life is falling apart.
Take 2 shots and dance at the wedding.
Yeah. Yeah. Get lit to the floating stereo disco ball.
Yeah.
But Nick,
floating stereo disco ball slaps.
Yeah, it's a good band name too.
Yeah.
By the way, did you notice we got floating cameras for reporters in Andor season 2?
Yes.
That was like a new thing.
That event that they were at. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But one thing about Mon Mothma I mentioned to Chris, Nick, have you seen the deleted scene for Revenge of the Sith with this actress playing Mon Mothma?
Yes, where it's more talking, right? It's a talking scene.
Yeah, but like it is incredible. Like that got cut, and that was 20 years ago. And then they still came back to her for Rogue One. I mean, essentially, she's been occupying this role in some way for like 20 years now.
Yeah, since 2002. She was in Attack of the Clones, so.
Crazy.
Yeah, great. And it kind of grew up with her because she was super young at that point. And then, yeah.
But it's pretty amazing to see a character that was introduced in Return of the Jedi having this full circle, like...
a very small role in Return of the Jedi as well.
Yeah.
For either of you guys...
I want to say in the new canon stuff,
Mm-hmm.
she is like the president of the New Republic. So she like ends up having kind of taking the Emperor's role for a little bit. It's more of like a transition figure, and she like hates it. It's like the worst thing ever. She hates it.
But Chris, I will say Mon
Mothma,
Mothma...
a rebellion leader, a lot better. All right, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you, man. But Chris, I will say, Mon Mothma was probably my favorite character in this season and possibly show. I just felt like she was a prisoner in her own like family, planet, in the Senate in so many ways, and I feel like that scene of her dancing and getting lit was very like human, but also like the fact that she was able to rise above all of it and recognize the threat. And I don't know, I felt like she did have really good development. I don't know. That was just my 2 cents about it. But
the arranged marriage, of like, you know, begrudging to that kind of shithead husband, but also that guy was really honest about being a shithead.
Mm-hmm.
I love we got to see what he was doing at the end, and he was screwing that guy's wife.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely.
And the character design, I mean, obviously he's a super handsome dude, but just the man bun and rugged face with the...
I heard it described as Sweden meets Japan, like it's Swedish Japan.
It's your visiting DJ flirting with like girls in Japan.
Yes, exactly. I studied abroad in Japan, type vibes.
And some say like Star Wars, like the Force as a concept is kind of a blend of like East and West of like Buddhism and like Christianity. So that is kind of interesting.
What do we think about the way? What did you think about the way we left Bix though?
Okay, so let's get into it. Chris doesn't like this, but I love it because again, this subverts the expectations. Okay, we love talking about that, Rian Johnson. You know, it subverts the expectations because again, you're thinking who's going to die. Obviously, we're just going to see how Bix dies and how it radicalizes Andor, you know, Cassian to keep on fighting, and we think that we see him at like a low point when really. At the end of Andor, he's kind of at his crest. He's sort of at like the best he's ever been, even from a mental standpoint. Like he's not like depressed or nihilistic. He's like, we just got to get shit done.
He's invigorated.
He is invigorated. And I'll have to rewatch. I don't quite understand the whole thing where Vel basically says you should go reach out to her. And he was like, nah, I'll do that later. And maybe, you know, I'm thinking, now that I think about it, I think that Vel and the other people don't quite understand why Bix left. I think that message to him that said, like, I have to leave, otherwise you're never going to fight. And she was sort of like, she's not force connected, but she was sort of buying into that lady that said that he's like the connective tissue and the force is using him and this kind of thing. And she sort of bought into that, like, okay, well, if he's going to leave for me, then I need to leave so he stays. And then maybe that message was kept private and nobody else really saw it. And Vel says to him, like, you should reach out. And maybe just people assumed that she just kind of broke up with him and that he should reach out because, you know, maybe she's ready to talk to him again. But again, it's like, he's just like, no, I'm not going to reach out to her. And I think it adds such a great layer to Rogue One because you think that he is almost like jaded by all of this. And he has one of those lines with Jyn Erso where he talks about like how convenient it is for you can walk out of the rebellion whenever you want, join the rebellion whenever you want, when I've been in this. And I think it adds a type of thing where he's not talking from loss, although he has lost people. He obviously lost his best friend, the brick guy. What's his name? I can't remember his name. But like, he is not a person who's lost hope. He is at the most idealistic, and he wants to win this thing and get back home so he can be with her. And that adds like some more tragedy to it, knowing that no, he wasn't forlorn and downtrodden. He was like hopeful and like, no, we can get this and we can do this and go back and I can go be with her. And I think he had no idea she was pregnant.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
I thought it was interesting because that kid, you can't always take movies at their and TV shows like if you look at a child's development, because sometimes like a character gives birth and they show the baby like what's supposed to be 2 weeks later, and the baby's like clearly like 18 months old, and you're like, wait, what the hell? But that baby looked like, what would you say as a father, Nick? What do you think? Was that kid like a year and a half?
It matches up. So you got to think too. We always say that pregnancies are 9 months, but in all reality, they're 10 months. So your due date is typically roughly about 10 months, or more like 9 months and 3 weeks from when the date of conception.
Okay.
So let's say the three episode arc a year ago where she records the tablet thing and then leaves. Maybe she had just been late one time. Like maybe she was late for the first time, and you know, she's connected to the Force, and maybe somebody had like touched her belly and said, you're pregnant or whatever. She knew she was pregnant, I think. And she basically said, I'm out. So if you're taking the time jump to be exactly a year, that 3 episode arc ends a year later, she would have a 2-month-old baby. And that looked like a 2-month-old baby. Okay.
Well, I guess my question with asking that is that, like, I think for my assessment of her, it's totally fair to just say, I'm pregnant and I don't want to pull Cassian away from everything, but I also don't want to raise my baby in an active war zone right now. So like, I need to get away and do the best thing for my child and my life partner right now. And I think that's a cool way of leaving things. To, like you said, to be like, yeah, I mean, he was probably going to get back to her. They were potentially going to be a nice little family.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they end this arc with hope, and he even seems hopeful as he's like kind of doing that last swaggy walk to the ship, and that I think adds a lot more melancholy to Rogue One than it did before. Because before, watching Rogue One before this series is just like, all right, this is a guy that's a little bit down in the dumps, right? He's sort of mad at the world. He is, he'll just kill people to get stuff done, and he's got a little bit of loose morals. No, he is a man on a rampage because he wants to end this thing so he could get back to the woman he loves.
Mm-hmm.
I like the steel case you're making, but it didn't work for me. Mostly because I started to see Bix as, honestly, I thought she kind of was holding the show back a little bit, and I thought they wanted to get her out of it. So that's kind of how I saw it. I thought the actress, I didn't think she was very convincing for me at points, particularly after the scene where she's assaulted. Like after that point, I started to fall off the rails for me a little bit. And then I saw that she's kind of being escorted off the show in this way. And they had an opportunity to give a well-acted scene of her departing and delivering that news. But they did it in a Dear John letter It's like something that you could see that she could just like read off from a screen. So I felt like we were robbed from a real emotional weight that could have happened. Like I felt like there was a lot of half measures that happened with that. Like I thought what they either should have done with Bix is that someone from the Empire killed her, or she left and didn't say anything, because I think that would have left a lot more shock value. That could have made a bigger impact on the show. Because if she's killed by the Empire, then that gets Cassian rooted in to why why he's so against the Empire going into Rogue One, right? And that lights a fire under him. Now, the other option is that she just leaves and doesn't say anything, or they have some kind of like eruption and a fight. And I feel like that could have delivered a better scene. Like the Dear John letter for me was not a great scene. I was kind of just like, ugh, like I just didn't feel the impact. And this all kind of ties in together with me with Cassian and Bix and Luthen. Like I feel like this was these three characters like were really tied together in the narrative, because why did Cassian finally, you talked about it, Zach, like he had a revelation. Like eventually you see him like in the cover of episode 12, the last episode, you see a picture of Cassian and he's looking at the camera and he's got a look in his eye, and it's like a look of like confidence and certainty about who he is. And that's like a character arc. And the problem with it for me is like, what he got and what, let me know if you guys saw it differently, but I felt what got him there to reaching his like peak as a character was he saw that Luthen sacrificed everything for the rebellion. And after that, he was like, wow, like I thought that guy was a shitbag. I had a lot of issues with him, but I can't like diss that commitment. And it really inspired him. But I felt like for me, because they didn't, that Luthen and Andor, or Luthen and Cassian, all that stuff was happening separately. Like he heard about it like secondhand. So I don't know. For me, it felt a little weak. But what do you guys think? Am I interpreting this wrong, or do you think it's a fair criticism?
Oh man, I think that's just like your opinion, man.
It's just your opinion, man.
Yay, man.
Your opinion, man.
No, I think it depends on what kind of bow you like tied on certain media. Sometimes I do wish that a better bow was tied, but also I think it's prototypical of movies like this, especially Star Wars or whatever, that people always have to be shown or die on their like best or worst day. No one ever usually gets whacked in like a average day or whatever. And like we left Bix just kind of like with hope, but still missing someone, totally in the middle. And like with the Luthen and Cassian thing, I think that we do reach a point where Cassian has taken Luthen's like deathly seriousness about the need for revolution. But I think he's learned going into Rogue One that people are not as disposable as Luthen treats them. He still is a grumpy Gus in Rogue One. Like Nick just said that. Like he's still a like Debbie Downer, but like he recognizes the need for personal relationship in the rebellion, where that's like the anti-Luthen in my opinion. That like foot soldiers are pawns and disposable in like as mechanisms of the revolution. So I don't know. That was kind of my interpretation.
Yeah, you're right, and that is Luthen was willing to sacrifice anyone.
He almost he entered the show being like, I'm probably going to kill this dude Andor. Actually, I could probably use him before I kill him.
No, that's still a good pawn. That pawn, I need him where he is right now. I could always sacrifice him later.
Can I address an internet gripe that I need to correct for people? So there is this gripe where, okay, all of this work went down. Obviously, the whole crew from Rogue One dies. Like they're all gone. So they're not there to see the medal ceremony at the end of A New Hope. But Vel is alive. What is Kreia? Is her name Kreia? The
Faye?
Luthen's second in command.
Clea.
Yeah.
Clay
Oh,
has
right. Oh,
there's
yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of people who fought their asses off in this series that are alive to see the medal ceremony, and people are like, they must be fuming, right? Like, I get what they would see all of this and all the sacrifices they made, and these two guys are the ones that get the medal. Let me just like put this in perspective. Two guys plus an old guy that dies plus their dog Chewbacca break out the most high-profile prisoner that the Empire has in Princess Leia from a world-killing space station that nobody knew existed until like a day ago. They break her out of there, and then they go back and blow it up. Like, if that doesn't deserve a medal, I don't know what does. Like, I think like people would understand. It's like, yeah, that was pretty badass. Like, all these people that are working towards the rebellion, building a rebellion, of course, making a lot of sacrifices, but like, it doesn't diminish anything that happened in A New Hope. Like, again, they knew Luke knew what he was up against. He broke himself out of that, and Han basically was going to skip town. Doesn't skip town, turns around, goes back to the space station and helps Luke blow it up. Still deserves a medal. I don't think anybody would have been mad.
But doesn't the show kind of address it too? Because once Cassian convinces Clea to come back, she's not convinced by it, but he tries to tell her that there's going to be a parade waiting for you when you get back. Everyone's going to love you. And they show that she doesn't get any credit, even in this show. So in a way, the show kind of addresses that, like, hey, not everyone is going to get like the parade that they deserve.
She recognizes that too. She's like, well, that's not for me. Yavin is not for me. And I think she knows that. And there's this look that she has. So she wakes up the next day and she's bloodied and beat up from trying to get out of Coruscant, and she sees like normal life on Yavin, like people who are free but still dedicated to this cause. Like, they see the people moving crates back and forth. They see the military crew going on a jog. The sun has risen. It's beautiful. And she like has this like hopeful look. I think that was reward enough. Like, all of the things that she was working for that she didn't think she was a part of, and then she got to see it. And then literally days later, like, they blow up the main thing that they found out was true. Nobody wanted to do anything. And that is a huge plot point in Rogue One that I think is made a little bit better by Andor. But I was like, why? If you had people coming and saying, hey, there's a super weapon, we should probably do something about it. And everyone's just like, nah, Cap, you guys are lying. There's no way. But I guess they set this up in the Andor. So like, yeah, the Empire tells you a lot of lies in order to get you to do stuff. And so this is just another lie, and they're springing a trap. So I think this does a better job putting in context why these officials might be kind of skeptical.
Also, I just want to say the actress that played Clea, I feel bad I don't remember her name, but Andor's like
Elizabeth Dulao.
Thank you.
Something like that.
Andor's like her first and maybe still only credit, and I thought she was a scene stealer like every single time. So she was holding her own against like freaking Stellan Skarsgård, which is high praise.
Yeah, that whole scene of her positioning, the redhead guy, I gotta think, Lonnie.
Yeah.
He's got a very Earth name. Positioning Lonnie is like, you're gonna stand right there while I get this bug out. Like, that was like really great acting, and like how she's like, just shut up and stand there.
Yeah, I could have used a little bit more.
She was a really great terrorist. Like, from a very young age, like, she was a very good terrorist. Like, did it give you terrorist vibes? Like, when she was like blowing up, like, I was like, damn, dude, like, she is a wrecker. Like, she is terrorizing all those vehicles blowing up, which I thought was an incredible scene, but it gave me like school shooter vibes. I won't lie. Like, I was like, this is kind of disturbing, but also badass and a great scene.
It's more like blowing up the orphanage that abused you, you know? But that just reminded me, I was not expecting in the final 3 episodes to get an episode on her background. Like, I was pleasantly surprised, but I queued it up already for like the 3-episode showdown, and we got some retroactive story about her, and I was like really like pleasantly surprised about that. I did not see that coming.
Yeah.
An amazing filler
like that
episode,
little-
top tier filler.
It is a good filler, and like them being terrorists together and blowing up that bridge on Naboo. I love a Naboo visit. I think we should visit Naboo in every Star Wars story.
I liked his advice. Like, don't look over there. Okay, now look.
Go ahead. Look if you want to. Look if you need to. So I want to close this out here and kind of give my overall, I guess, philosophy of this show. And listeners may remember I had like an overall philosophy of Obi-Wan. The Obi-Wan TV series, while not great quality, did a lot for me personally. I just think like it set the tone for, hey, you don't have to do the things that you think you're meant to do. Like so if you remember, Chris, I think my tagline was, you don't have to keep going. Like Darth Vader is convinced that he's so bad and he's beyond reproach and he hates himself so much that he just has to continue being bad. And the moral of the story is, no, you can stop. And same thing, Obi-Wan thought he was a failure. He lived his life as a failure on Tatooine. And then he was like, no, okay, I'm not a failure. I can stop being a failure. In fact, we fucked up, but I'm going to protect Luke and figure this whole thing out. And then he moves on with his life. So what is the overarching story of this one? So I think that the quick tagline is, so you've identified the enemy. What do you do about it? So in other words, I think there are so many times, and especially like when we talk about our current moment in society and in politics, we think about, okay, who is the bad guy, quote unquote? And I think that question is not as important as what do you do about it if you actually think the bad guy is. You know, every election we have is like, this is the most important election of our time. And yet like people fuck around and give, they gave Kamala 100 days to run for office. Okay, so if this is the most important election of our time, then why are we sticking her in there with the last 100 days to go? Like, obviously it's, cap, whatever, the life goes on, America goes on. But I think one of the best parts of this is Tony Gilroy was a scholar of resistance. Like, he actually talks about how he studied different acts of resistance throughout time, and it is peppered throughout Andor. There's secret, insurgency, and that's kind of like the Clea and Luthen route. There's the Mon Mothma route, where you are trying to reform from within. So for a while, she thought that she could vote down that bill that kept people incarcerated indefinitely in that crazy-ass prison on Narkina 5. So she thought she could change from within, and then she slowly realized she can't change from within. You have insane people, like basically the Antifa of the galaxy with the partisans and Saw Gerrera. And then you have, I suppose, the Rebel Alliance sort of becomes the normalized, organized resistance. And then you have Cassian Andor, who sort of just is a hodgepodge of everything. And so that leads me to my next theme. Andor is the Forrest Gump of Star Wars, in that he just kind of seems to be in the middle of all of the most significant.
Like I like
every
it.
time there's a 1 year jump, and then there's the 3 most important days of that 1 year. He's there, like he was involved in it, and I think that's recognized by that kind of halfway Force sensitive lady on Yavin, who's like, there's somehow a thread going through you into all these significant events, and you are important. And I don't even necessarily think that it's Andor is the important person, but I think the importance flows through him. And so he is the connective tissue. He's frenemies with Luthen, as we talked about. Zach, you brought that up. But in the end, he honors Luthen and says, like, none of you would be here if it weren't for him. And he sacrificed more than any of these people have in here. Also, he was, a big proponent of Mon Mothma. You could tell they sort of had a little bit of a friendship there because obviously he got her off the planet and freed her. But he also had some respect for what she was trying to do, and basically was like, well, now we have to kill people though. Sorry. And then also he got a little bit of partisan in him because Will came back from the partisans having done drugs and said, wow, these drugs are great. You should be insane like me. And so Will kind of introduces him to that wild card aspect of things. And also he's just a brave motherfucker. Like he literally, like anything he was put up against, he's like, yeah, I'm going to go do it. I'm going to go check into the hotel and snipe somebody from my balcony. So lo and behold, I think this is one of the most important things of television. It's a television show for our time. Like, it's really significant in that way, but it's also not preachy. It's not telling you who the enemy is. It's more so just like, hey, when you've identified one, here's the different things that have happened to tell you, to inform you about this. And then last but not least, you yourself are only going to be a tiny little bit of it. Unless you're Cassian, of course. Cassian is a big fucking part of the resistance and the rebellion. But you yourself are just going to play a little role in it, and you might die before you see it get better. That was one of the most poignant things is that Saw says, is like, we're going to die before we see the rebellion again. So we might as well huff some more gasoline and just let's be epic and do crimes, you know? And all of those aspects together kind of makes this whole show make sense. And it's, again, a really great cohesive show. It's politically stimulating. It's sci-fi stimulating, and it just a great little piece of art. And I think it's a way better show than Obi-Wan, but it also, like, again, it does those things for me like Obi-Wan did.
Yeah, it's really well said, Nick.
Yeah, man.
I think it's. I agree that it's probably the best Star Wars. It's definitely the best Star Wars television, and it's so much so that people are.
But also now it's a humongously high bar. So.
Mm-hmm. Right, and it's gotten people to like kind of shit on The Mandalorian, which I think we all had a soft spot for that on this podcast.
I still do.
Yeah, I still do.
Like, oh man, season 3 was so bad. I'm like, I mean, it had its problems, but I still loved it.
Just because we didn't have any cute droids, aliens, or lightsabers in Andor doesn't mean there isn't a place for all of it.
We had cute droids. B2 emo. Come on.
Yeah, well, we had a speech impediment droid. Yeah.
I pumped my fist when they showed him at the end.
Yeah, he's still alive.
He's having a good life. He's just.
But in that point, Nick, like Zach. They're not. There's not a lot of like selling toys in this show. It's not gonna make Star Wars a lot of money. It's definitely for other reasons. It's for artistic reasons. So I think that's great.
Yeah, I was surprised we didn't get the Mon Mothma monologue in the Senate was so killer, but I just remember there being like half a dozen in season 1. That just floored me and like made me ready to run through a wall. Maybe we just got more actions that did it in season 2, but I totally like identified with everything Nick said about Revolution, because you could put this show's messaging on top of like revolutions all across the world, and you wouldn't have to be like, oh, this is so about the Democrats and Trump, or like, no, it's just a blanket appeals to everyone, and everyone thinks that politics don't matter to them until it happens to them, and at some point in your life it will affect you. And that was Cassian, where he was just like, I don't get in the middle of this, and it's just like, well, you're probably gonna have to pick a side here because it's killing your friends and your family. And the last part I'll say is it reminds me of like when people on Twitter would respond to Donald Trump or other politicians and be like, "Sir, have you no shame?" And that was like their revolution. And we kind of got that with Senate stuff, where Mon Mothma's like, we can't keep doing these little motions and speeches. Like we need to go like full call it for what it is. So yeah.
Yeah, this is that, I think like you guys have pointed out that politics is a big part of Star Wars. It always has been. There's also other aspects like the Force and spirituality and fights, lightsaber battles, space magicians. But this did a really good job with the intrigue and with the politics aspect of Star Wars. So I think we can all agree on that.
And I think this show, this obviously would have gotten a lot of backlash if this was a lib-coded show, but like I think you could feasibly come away from this as a conservative person and say like, yeah, I would fight the liberals this way, and like you can come as a liberal, like, yeah, I would fight the conservatives this way. You know,
Right.
I think this kind of transcends.
Yeah, a lot of it is like
while also making comments about it.
It's like it's the struggle between like dictatorship and liberalism and democracy, and when sometimes either one can go too far, and like that struggle, and that's I think what George Lucas was probably trying to communicate with a lot of Star Wars, and comes out in this show too. So I think that does that pretty authentically. But anything else, guys, on Andor? I think we had a good conversation, covered a lot. Any parting thoughts other than that?
Loved it. Made me think that we could get, I would love the nerdy stuff. Maybe it'll come in other media in terms of comic books or whatever, but it made me want to know more about like almost every character in Star Wars canon. So I love projects like this. We may not get it on this scale, but I hope we get more of this in the future.
Yep. I miss this show.
Agreed.
Like I wish there was more to go watch. And it just was a great show to look forward to. I'm sad that we're not going to get many more of it. It was supposed to be 5 seasons, which maybe I wouldn't have liked it as much if it was 5 seasons. So leave them all wanting more. On the other hand, I hope Tony Gilroy makes more Star Wars. It sounds like he doesn't want to, but I'm sure if they showed up with a
He totally seems like the kind of guy that wouldn't want to, and that's just fine, you know? Let him be inspiring for other creators.
Yeah. So maybe he can EP on something, but
yeah.
I honestly think it's solidified that the Age of Empires, as they call it, or Age of the Empire, is this era of Star Wars. So they have the High Republic, they have the Old Republic, the New Republic, the Old Republic, the High Republic. They have the Age of what is the prequels called?
Age of the Republic?
No, whatever the prequel said. Then they have the Age of Rebellion, or Age of the Empire. I think this is the best part of Star Wars. I like that time from the Emperor ascended until essentially the Battle of Endor is the best part. And granted, that's only like a 20-year period or something, 25-year period, but the stuff outside of it just gets, the further you get from that core, the less fun it is.
Yeah, I agree with that. I love this era of Star Wars too. I don't know how much more we can pack into it, but we can do things with books and video games. But that's what I want to talk about.
That there's just brand new. There's characters you never even heard of, talked about.
Exactly. A couple parting words for me.
Survivor. That whole
series
too. Yeah,
no, totally.
You've never heard of or thought about in that same era.
Exactly. And I'm hoping that they take the right lessons from this. I hope they consider it internally a success so that they keep doing more stuff like this. My thing is like, I love the rogue. I love the criminal, like under Star Wars underbelly. I think that's what a lot of this is about. And I hope that they will do more with it. But my biggest thing is I don't think it has to exclude Jedi and Force people. I think that they can be part of that. I think they can be part of like the criminal world. They just like can't be the only thing. So I'm hoping that, because Rogue One was great without it for the most part. They put Vader in. This had none. This had no Jedis, and it was great. I don't think they have to have a rule that they don't put them in. This video game coming out is called Star Wars Zero Company, is like, to me, the antithesis of what I want to see from like the dark underbelly of Star Wars. Because if you guys see my screen, there's like this. There's a group of people here that we're assembling a crew, that kind of vibe, and they got a Jedi in it. So I'm excited to see that they're bringing in like the Rogue type, the Han Solo type, all the different archetypes can have a fit in like the underworld universe. The other thing I was going to say is if you
also check out Star Wars Outlaws, because that's all about
that's true.
Gaining favor with the Pikes, with like all of the different groups.
Definitely a good call out. And the last thing I'll say is if you're really still looking for more Rogue One-ish stuff, Catalyst was a good audiobook. And it talks, it's basically a prequel to Rogue One. And it's new.
A prequel to Rogue One or Rebels?
Rogue One. Yep. So it has a lot of stuff with it's got more stuff with what's his face? Galen Erso. It's more of like a Galen Erso book and Krennic on that side of things instead of like the Rebellion. So yeah, I think that's a recommendation for anyone that wants to be in this universe in this time a little bit more. So, but other than that, yeah, I'm just glad that we had another great Star Wars to talk about. You should also check out, other than just Star Wars stuff, real life stuff, Magic Mind, our sponsor, you guys should check out, which is a great little mental performance shot that Nick and I take because no, we're not addicted to it. Okay, we could stop at any time, but we do enjoy it. So what it is it's just this green little juice that you take once a day. It is a good caffeine supplement because it has things like matcha, it has lion's mane mushroom, it has ashwagandha, which are all really good for your mental clarity, mental performance, and health. Guys like me and Nick and Zach too, like our mental performance has to be peak, like all the time. We can't have a moment of not being clear and focused.
Star Wars without having clear. See, I need it right now.
You need more green juice, Nick.
Yeah.
Good shot in an alley.
We have Star Wars has blue milk. We have green Magic Mind to help us. So what I would suggest you guys do is check out our discount code, and that is at magicmind.com/SWLC40. So if you go to that URL, www.magicmind.com/SWLC40, and use the code, you guessed it, SWLC40, you can get 40% off a subscription, and you can also get a discount on just a one-time order. So yeah, that you'll do yourself a service with that. You'll also help out the show. But without further ado, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and may the Force be with you.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks for joining, Zach. All right. See you guys.